Okay, let's pick up the mitzvah vidu or tshuva. We discussed those issues yesterday, last week. Excuse me. We pointed out that the Rambam in Mishnah Torah says that vidu requires charot and kabbalah, which basically is found in Rav Sadi Goyim. We're not clear what the source is, because especially the viduyim, which you find in the Torah, don't have it. There may be, you'll find a nach, boishti, v'nichlamti, or whatever. But, you don't find it in general, historically, in the viduyim. But the Ram seems to say that that's the viduyim Mishnah Torah. Here, there's no mention at all. It's just a clear acknowledgement of chet, or visi pshaiti, and not only acknowledgement of chet, but an acknowledgement of peculiar chet. You have to give it a name. Okay, and we also pointed out that the Rambam in Mishnah Torah, as opposed to here, talks about to expand on the idea of the Ika Nuscha Vidu, which is I assume it's the Charota and the Kabbalah, etc. Whereas here in Sefer HaMitzvos, you're supposed to expand on it, because it says v'yarech hama'ama or yachav adibor, but there's something else. V'yivakesh hakapora b'zeh inyan. There's bakoshes hakapora, which the Rambam adds over here in Sefer HaMitzvos, which you don't find in Mishnah Torah. Now let's expand on that, okay? And then I think the most important thing for us, and the subject which will be this evening, really, the focus is that this mitzvah is found in by Avidu and Korban, and the Ram is going to work very hard that applies not only for Korban, but even Shlo B'Shas Korban, and that's going to be the Divrei Sefer Zuta and the Rambam, and see what's going on. Okay? So, as we said, the Rambam in Sefer HaMitzvos is very clear that Bakoshes Kapora is part of the mitzvah. Whereas in Mishnah Torah, he doesn't discuss it at all. The Rambam Tshuva says in Perek Aleph Halacha Aleph, Ketzad Mizvade Oimer On Hashem Chotosi Avisi Pshaiti Lefonecho Vasisi Kach V'Kach, which until this point is what we have over here. Then he adds, V'Nichamti Uboishti B'Maasai. It's interesting. It's not only a chalota, it's a certain sense of shame with chet. Nichamti uboishti b'maasai, and then Kabbalah Abba uli olam eini choyze l'dovazeh. Zehu ikoi shel vidui. This is the main thrust of what vidu is. Cholamar b'lizvades umarich bein zeh arize meshubach. Here is also interesting. The Rambam, just see, if you look at the Lashon over here, v'yarech hamaymo v'yivakesh hakapora b'zeh ha'inyan lefi tzachas l'shoinoi. This is a I say it enhances the ikachiyuv. This is the definition of the mitzvah. Where Sisi, he says, "V'zeu avidoy v'kavarosay sheyoymal on Hashem chatosi." This is the nusach avidoy, okay, and v'yarich the harocha is part of the Ika mitzvah, because the idea of doing a harizim meshubach, either he has to say it mefurish, but when he's defining the mitzvah, l'chayr it's not nishar is a meshubach. Whereas, if you look at Mishnah Torah, and you have to contrast it, the Ram says, "V'chol hamarbel is vados umarich bein zeh." How is a meshubach? That's not discussing the definition of the Mishnah, the halacha, but it really is just an add-on. How is a meshubach? For example, in Hilchos Tefillah, in Perek Aleph, he says, in Perek Aleph Halacha Beis, "Elchiv mitzvah zo, hachu she'odem mispal mischanim b'chol yoim u'magid shvocha shel Kodesh Baruch Hu ve'ach kach shoel tzorachov shehu tzorach lohen b'vakasha b'tchina ve'ach kach noisen sheva vodo l'Hashem al hatobo she'ishbiya loi kol echod ve'echod k'fi koichoi." Or the echod ve'echod k'fi koichoi, that is the Ika mitzvah, like he has over here, that the vidui is also k'fi koichoi. In Mishnah Torah, when it comes to the mitzvah's vidui, he adds the harizim meshubach. In fact, let's just see mitzvah hey, what he does as far as tefillah. When it comes to tefillah, in the mitzvah tefillah, he's only interested in clarifying that it's a mitzvah, as opposed to a general issue of avodah, and it doesn't come under the auspices, excuse me, of shurish dalid mitzvah kolelis kol Torah kula. Okay, but here he finds it important to tell us that you're supposed to be marich, but the marich is part of the Ika mitzvah. Mishnah Torah, the arocha is a harizim meshubach. Something like kol amal b'lesapi sees his chaim harizim meshubach. Okay, now However, this issue of kapora, which is central in Sefer HaMitzvos, in Mishnah Torah, he does mention it. He mentions it by vidui, by a korban, in Ma'aseh Korbanos, Perek Gimel Halacha Tezvov, Ketzad Mizvade, Oime Chotosi Avisi Pshaiti, V'yosisi Kach V'kach, V'chazarti B'tshuvo Lifonecho, V'zo Kaporasi. It's not a bakoshes kapora, but it's identifying the korban as the mechaper. And in Yom Kippur, for Kohen Gadol, the Rambam in Perek Daled of Yavolis and Kippurim, Halacha Aleph, V'soimech shtei yodov, al goi shapal, u'mizvadeh. V'kach hoyoimer, on Hashem, chotos yavisi b'shait l'fonecha ani uveisi, on Hashem kapeno l'chatoim, v'la'avoinos v'la'pshoim, shechotos yavisi sheb'shait l'fonecha ani uveisi. Kakuzu b'sois Moshe, av d'cholemo. Ki v'yom hazeh yichape aleichem, l'tayer eschem, mikol chatoseichem, lifnei Hashem titoru. This l'chera is a peculiar Yom Kippur din. How do I know? Because he's quoting a pasuk by Yom Kippur. Ki Yom hazeh yichape aleichem. Since the day is a day of kapora, so the vidui would entail me asking for kapora. But other days of the year, whether or not you make kapora, there's no reason. And if the korban is given, the guys look kaporasi. But therefore, you understand in the mitzvahs vidui and hilchos tshuva, there's no mention. It's an add-on, depending upon the context. I think that's interesting and clear. Okay? So, l'chera, the Rambam in Mishnah Torah is cholik, and he holds that bakoshes kapora is not part of the mitzvahs vidui, but it's a din miyuchad in korbanos, and that you say that the korban is a kapora, and it's also a din miyuchad in Yom Kippur because ki yom hazeh yichap aleichem, ki yom hazeh yichap aleichem l'tayir eschem mikol chatasechem l'shem tahol. So there's a separate chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we like to ask for it. So, and you understand that the text is very different on korban, which the hefs of korban is a mechaper. I say zul kaparasi, whereas in Yom Kippur the hefs of the yom is a mechaper, and it's a separate chesed from HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving it the kapora. So then it's a bakoshes kapora. And there's a separate inyan from kapora also on Yom Kippur. In Perek Beis Halacha Zayin v'chus tshuva, Yom Kippurim uzman tshuva l'chol yochid u'l'rabim, והוא קץ מחיל וסליחה לישראל, לפיכך חייב מקור לעשות תשובה לזוועדת יום הכיפורים. But that's a chiyuv, and here we're going further. Ki bayom hazeh yichape aleichem is not only is a separate chiyuv, but there's a bakosha because the day was given for kapor. The Ram Mishnah Torah is like the Yerushalmi. In Yuma, Per Ches Halocha Zayin, Bakoshes Kapor. Excuse me, sorry. The Yerushalmi in Yuma is like the Ram over here in Sefer HaMitzvos, not like the Ram Mishnah Torah. And Bakoshes Kapora is a halacha in Vidu in general. Yirotzim milfonecho, Perek Ches Halacha Zayin, Hashem Elokai shetechaper li al kol pshoi v'simchu li kol avonoisai v'simchu li al kol chatosai. But however, that's what he says, that's part of the vidui. But I think that there's no question over here, because it could be in vidui Yom Kippurim. It's the same way in Kohen Gadol. Ki b'zoyim hazeh yichape aleichem. On the Yochid, you say Yirotzim u'ponecha Hashem Elokai shetechaper li al kol pshoi v'simchu li al kol avonosai. The same way the Tzibur says Slach lonu, kaper lonu, mechal lonu. Okay, next. Good. Next. Now, okay. Next, let's go on. V'da. Now we're going on. The Rambam is setting up a new plow. We basically, what doing now is wrapping up what is vidui and to compare, contrast it to Mishnah Torah. Now, the question is, what is the relationship between vidui and a case where there's no korban, because the mitzvah's vidui was formulated by korban. So that's the Ram starts. V'da shafilu achatoyim shechayov maleim elu haminim me'akorbanos niskorim. What does that mean? That means the Rambam before just mentioned is Ayin Gimel is after Samach Tes, Ayin Aleph, and Ayin Beis It's talking about chatos, kovua, osham tolui, osham vadai, and korban olivierit. And these korbanos, which are bo ala chet, which the chet is mechayiv, they are certainly require vidui. V'da, shafir achatoim shechayom maleim, elu aminim, me'akabonis and skolim we just mentioned before, those mitzvahs, samuch tes ayin beis, she'omar yis'ale shemish yakrivom niskapeloi, lo yaspik im hakovosam bilti avidui. So assume it's not enough that the korban's mechaper, you need a vidui and a bakoshes kapora. Something like that, I assume. For Amra, daber b'nei Yisrael, ish o isha, ki yasu mikol chatas odom, limo ma'al b'Hashem, v'yoshma nefesh ahi, v'izvadu es chatosam asher osu. Now, the Rambam has an interesting lashon over here. Let's look at it. The Rambam said, see, there's a word shafilu. We have to focus on it because he's making a statement over here. Shafilu hachatoim shachayov maleim elu aminim me'akabonas and niskorim, even lo yaspik im hakovosim bilti avidui. So what is he saying? That the chatoim which are mechayiv v'chatas kavua or Roshim Toli or Roshim Vadai, Korban Olivierit, and Dr. Havos HaKorban are separate mitzvahs. Ayin Tes to Ayin Beis. The Rambam adds that the Chayte is chayiv to bring these korbanos for the purpose of kapora ala chatoim, and kaporas hakorban depends upon vidui. So a korban which is mechayiv vidui, shafilu, you see, he's saying shafilu, so it means certainly a chet which is not mechayiv korban, I need vidui. Since the korban is bola kapora, and the kapora doesn't happen in mela, I need vidui. Certainly, a chet which doesn't require korban in order to have kapora would require vidui. That shafilu, shafilu chato, afilu hachatoim shechayom maleim elu aminim me'akabonos entrom shomer yisrael sheyekiv v'chabel lo yaspik im hakovosim bilti avidui. So here you see again and again, it's an amazing difference. The Rambam Sefer HaMitzvos, the mitzvah revolves about kapor and bakoshes kapor. And this is the way he makes a logical case that the mitzvah's vidui certainly should be applied in a case where there's no carbon. Because the purpose, the matara from vidui is kapora, so you can't imagine kapora without a carbon, without a vidui, and the chiddush is even the Torah is telling you those chatoim which require carbon, and the carbon is balachaper, maybe you don't require a vidui for kapora. Kamashmon. But again, I think this only makes sense because the vidui is part of the Ikar Mitzvah. I mean, the kaposhus kapola is part of the Ikar Mitzvah. Okay, next. Now, who amrei daber b'nei Yisrael ish o isha ki yasu mikol chates hodom limo ma'al bashem v'yoshma nefesh ahi v'yoshma hanefesh ahi. So we're talking about an avera which is mechayev Hashem gzelos. It's gzera coupled with a shvur sheker. The late day when he has charota about the chet of gzela per shvur, he's mischaret on the gzela on the shvur, and that charota is reflected in the pasuk the oshma hanefesh ahi. The oshma hanefesh ahi. V'hizvadu. So when he feels the emptiness and the chagot of chet, v'hizvadu es chatosom asher osu. That okay. So let's now take it slowly. So there's a mitzvah. You need the oshma nefeshahu, your mischaret. Interesting. L'cheira. The oshma nefesh could be charota, as you see in Mishnah Torah. See here, you could have canned it. That charota is part of the mitzvah vidui. The Ram doesn't mention that at all here. The oshma nefesh ahi v'izmadu es chatosim asher osu. But you don't know if the charota is part of the ikar nusach vidui, or that is the mechayev of vidui. If he's mischayet, he should be mizvada. So that's what we have. Rambam, you see, also takes the position as a double portion that even though we have to see about that the mitzvah's vidui is learned from Asher Gzelos, which is an Oshem Vadai. It logically applies to all korbanos. And that's what he says before. V'da'a she'afilu achatoim shechayov machol v'leim elo aminim haniskorim she'oma yis'ale shemi she'akriv niskap eloi is all four of the chiyuvei korbanos on chet lo yasbik im hakovosim bilti avidu v'oma yis'ale davar b'nei Yisrael v'yoshma nefesh hahi v'izvadu. So he assumes that once that it's not an isolated phenomenon in the mitzvah's vidui, in the mitzvah of Asher Gzelos, but it's a general reflection of any korban haba achet, which is interesting. Okay. So it means that this afsha filo chatoim shechayovim, which says that the mitzvah certainly applies to all the korbanos of Borachet, even though the pasuk was said by Oshem Vade was Sebastian Gzelos of Vidu and Chet. And then he takes the second step. There are two steps. The assumption is that it applies to all korbanos sheba'achet, and then once it applies to korbanos sheba'achet, it's a double portion that without korban you certainly need the vidui. And the assumption again is that the purpose of vidui is kapor. So you need kapor. What? So you need vidui all the time, even without korban. This is very odd because the assumption is, you need this svara. The question is why and how? Because the Rambam, in the continuation of discussing this mechilta, the Sefer Zuta, that from it he learns the mitzvah vidui is a mitzvah on all the averis. And mefurish the rayis in the Sefer Zuta that's true. So Manashach, I'd accept what he's going to quote from the Sefer Zuta that applies not only b'shas korban, shel b'shas korban, but he seems to say all these drush are going to quote you really don't need, because once logically misvara that the mitzvah applies to korban, it certainly should apply shel b'shas korban. How else are you going to get kapor? So the other Rabbi, you could have said just the opposite. You could have said that the vidui is part of the Akovas korban, and the Akovas korban requires the vidui. And only in peculiar mitzvahs, only peculiar averas, there's a chiv akrava of these korbanos, chatas kavua, oshem tetoli, oshem vadai, korban oliviyere. But in general, there's no necessity for vidui, and vidui is part of the chivas hakorban, the chivas korban. So the question is, and especially when he says, Shemishi akribum niskapeloi lo yastbiking achvosam bilti avidui. So it's mashma that the vidui is ma'akiv the kapolis and korban. So how could you learn in general that vidui is a mitzvah even shlomish has korban? This is Salam says himself in obey. It's a very difficult text. Next. Now we're going to go through slowly and see what happens here. We're going to go through the Sefer Zuta here. V'loshen ha'mechilta. This is Sefer Zuta, and the Rambam is mechane the Sefer Zuta, and he calls it mechilta. Okay, that's, we can explain that, but I don't think that's that much negate us at the moment now. V'loshen ha'mechilta. Sefer Zuta in Pashas, in the Bamidbar, Perek Hey, Posik Hey, Beferish Posik, Zeh Posik. This Posik in Bamidbar, Hey, that the Ram brings by Hashem Gezelis. Lefi Shenemar, Vizvade Ashechote, which is a posik in Vayikra by Korban Levi, right? That's very strange. So the pshat is, we'll see that the mechilta is not learning the mitzvahs vidui from Pashas Vayikra of Korban Levi, but he's trying to prove that vidui is not an isolated phenomenon in Hashem Gezelos, but it's in general by Korbanos of Kapora. And even by Korban Levi. But all we know from the Mechilta is that it says, the fee, Shenem, Vizvade Ashechoto, Yizvade Al Chet Shechoto, Aleho Al Chatosa Keshehois Kayemes, before the end of the Korban, before the Shechita, Loi Mishenishchato, Ein B'mishmash Yizvade Yochid, Ela Bias HaMikdosh, Shezeh HaKosav Kloimar, Omu Vizvade Ashechoto Leon Bias HaMikdosh, and from the Averes of Korban, Kol Yored, on the bar, B'Pashas Vayikra, B'Metame Mikdosh Ukadosho, Uma Sheniska Imoy, Mima Shebiarnu, in Mitzvah Ayin Beis, all the Chiyuvim of Korban Levi V'nema Shom Mechilta Shanachnu Numa Mizeh HaKosuv El Chiyuv Avidu Il Metame Mikdosh, all those Korbanos, those Averis Mechayev Korban Levi Minayin Atomar Be Shakol HaMitzvos Talmud Loimer Daber El Bnei Yisrael Vizvade So it's a psariboy that this mitzvah is not only a vidui of carbon, not only in Noshim Gzelos or in carbon Olivier, but in general. Next. The Rambam is now explaining the Sefer Zuta that Bias Mikdash is Labadavka, but it includes Shavuos Edus and Shavuos Bitui. Shezeh Kosuv Klema. Omra Yis'ale Bizvade Shechotole Omnam Bo Bepash Vayiko B'metame Mikdash Ukadoshav. Uma Shenizkar Imoy. It's not only this, but it's all the Avesh Mekayim Korban Levi'eret. V'nema Shom b'mechilto she'anachnu lo nilmad mizeh hakosav Elochi v'avidui l'metame mikdash. I mean, and everything which is called by. Minayin ata machshava mitzvahs. This is very strange. The Alachei should have gone not only from Korban Levi'eret and Hashem Gezelos, I guess, in every Hashem Vadai, but you want Chatos and you want Hashem Toli. I don't know that the jump in between is very odd. You're missing a segue. So that's what the Mechilta now is trying to bring a raya that there's a mitzvah klaus of vidu independent of korban. Vizvade shechoto. This is the passing in Vayikra from Korban Levi'eret. Yizvade achet shechoto. The Sefer Zuta that the din learns that the din is mefaret the chet with vidui. Ashechoto oleho. Yizvade al chet shechoto oleho. So he has to be mefaret the chet. That's the makor for pirut chet. It's not a makor for the mitzvah, but it's a makor that wherever there is vidui, the vidui requires pirut achet. Kishohoyis chayemes or ki chayemes or leho sheizvada al korban before the shechita. This is also part of the Sefer Zuta. But this also is not negeya that there's a mitzvah vidui shlo b'shas korban. Ein b'mishma she's vada yochid el al bias hamikdosh. The parshin Vayikra of Korban Levi'eret, which is koil shvus einish shvus bitui to his mikdosh kedoshav. And the Sefer Zuta calls all of them to Mas Mikdash HaKadosh. Mechanik, because we're not interested. We're interested in that. It means everything, as he said himself. Uma shenizkar imoy mima shebialnu, which is the other obligation of Averis, which are obligated to Korban Levi'eret. Next. Omnom, bo, bepashis vayiko, metam mikdash godoshev, umash niski imoy, mimash bialnu, venem mashom mechiltish, anachnu lo nume mize akosu elachiu vavidui, metam mikdash. So we have. Minayin ato marbe shako mitzvahs tamaloyma daber el bnei Yisrael vizvad. You see, hey, Pure, you would have said that we're learning from this drasha, the Talmud Loima. Minayin atomar kol mitzvahs Talmud Loima daber bnei Yisrael, which means we're learning out even vidu shlosh shas korban. Daber bnei Yisrael vizvadu. How do you do such a thing? And immediately afterwards, we'll see you have drushes that there's a mitzvah vidui by chayve krisis and chayve misa and mitzvah loisase and mitzvah aseh. If you learned already all mitzvahs, look, you don't need anything. So look, here what you have to say is the mechilta at the beginning is learning mitzvahs vidui misvade shechoto leho. So we know that there's a mitzvah vidui by korban oil b'yored. But I guess what you're doing is it means other mitzvahs she chayav a korban for, maybe. And it means that all korbanos she mechayiv on chet require vidui. Daber b'nei Yisrael v'zvadu. That's a ribui. Then the hemshich makes some sense. He says, "Minayin af misa is a krisis other averis which are mechayiv oinchin." Asht Omar Chatosom, Kol Chatosom, L'Rabbis Mitzvahs. We create Omar Chatosom. That includes Chayve Misas Ukrisis. Kol Chatosom L'Rabbis Mitzvahs Leisase. Kiyasu L'Rabbis Mitzvahs. So we have droted that Averis Shechayim Aleim. We have three droshes that from them we're learning that there's a mitzvah vidui by Chayve Mitzvah Shomayim, Chayve Kores, and mitzvahs loisa sevi aseh. So let's see. This is going to require work. And we have to know when we talk about Mises. Are we talking Mises Shamayim or Mises Bezdin? And this also have to see, depending upon the discussion later. Now let's go on. See, you could have said, and maybe you could have said, that the kapora of Misa and Krisus requires vidui. But there, that's the Omer Chatosum. But Kol Chatosum, when Avera is not Mechayiv in Oynish, it's a Maisa Avera without an Oynish. See, talking about the vidui itself is the Mechaper. Kol Chatosum, L'Rabos Mitzvos L'Isaseh. Ki Yasu, L'Rabos Mitzvos Aseh. B'shom Nema Gam Ken. Mikol Chatos Odom. Let's go slowly. This is very, very confusing. Because the Seder Uminayin Af Misais Ukrisus, and then he has later the Oshma Nefesh L'Rabbis Kol Chayvei Misus Shizvadu. So what's the Misais and what's the Krisus and what's the second Misais? What do you need it for? So one of the Misais are Misai Shemayim, and the other is a Misai Odom. And the Seder, the droshes are Mises and Kores, Loisa Sefer Aseh. So if the beginning Misa is Misa B'nei Odom, the Seder is Mechomer Lakal. Mises Bezdin, Kores, Loisa Aseh, and Mitzvah Aseh. And we understand the order. And you would say, maybe you need vidui only on the Mises Chamurais, or when it comes together with an Oynish. Or Mises Chamurais, or Averes Chamurais require vidui. But if Mises at the beginning of Mises Le'Shamayim, we don't understand the order. Because if there's a chiyuv for Kores, Mises Le'Shamayim, there's certainly a chiyuv of vidui for Kores. We don't know this order, if you learn like that. But when he says later, the Adarabah, that's what you would have said, that he would tell Mrs. Bezin. But he says later, the Oshma Nefesh Rabbi is chayve Mrs. She's Vadu. Yochol Afanerog al Pizoimin. So what mean Yochol Afanerog al Pizoimin? You're talking about Mrs. Bezdin. So l'cheira, we're talking about Mrs. Bezin. So over here, we're talking about the beginning. You told Mrs. Ishmael. The whole thing, you don't understand, Kosher, how to read this in a way that you have any satisfaction. Mitzvah Hashem, I'm going to see, whether we'll finish this next week or we'll move on to something else. Mitzvah Hashem, I'll think I'll get back. Mitzvah Hashem, okay, Shabbat Tzlocha. Have a nice week. Atzlocha.